The luxurious restaurant glistened with opulence, every detail meticulously designed to exude an air of exclusivity and sophistication. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm, golden glow over the elegantly dressed patrons, while soft, classical music played in the background, adding a touch of refinement to the ambiance. The restaurant, La Magnifique, was a sanctuary for the affluent, a place where the elite gathered to dine, network, and bask in their wealth. Among the diners that evening was Charles Worthington, a white millionaire known for his vast fortune and even vaster ego. Charles was impeccably dressed in a tailored suit that likely cost more than the average person's yearly salary. His salt and pepper hair was slicked back, and a smug smile played on his lips as he surveyed the room, his piercing blue eyes missing nothing. Seated at a table near the center of the room, Charles commanded attention. He was used to being the center of the universe, and tonight was no different. With him were a few business associates, equally wealthy, though none quite matched his stature. Their conversation was a blend of business jargon and thinly veiled braggadocio, their laughter ringing out intermittently, adding to the already vibrant atmosphere. At a table not far from Charles, a black family sat quietly, clearly out of place in the opulent surroundings. The Johnsons, Robert, his wife Angela, and their teenage daughter Lisa were dressed in their Sunday best, which still paled in comparison to the other patrons' attire. They had saved up for months to afford this special dinner, a celebration of Lisa's acceptance into a prestigious university. Their excitement was palpable, though tempered by the feeling of being out of their depth. Robert, a hard-working mechanic, glanced around nervously. He had never been in such a high-end establishment before, and he felt acutely aware of the sideways glances and subtle sneers directed their way. Angela, ever the pillar of strength, squeezed his hand reassuringly, her eyes shining with pride for their daughter. Lisa, meanwhile, was absorbed in the menu, her eyes wide with wonder at the exotic dishes listed. As the evening progressed, the disparity between the two tables became more pronounced. Charles, with his booming voice and larger-than-life presence, seemed to embody the very essence of wealth and privilege. The Johnsons, by contrast, exuded a quiet dignity, their humble roots evident in their demeanor and attire. The first sign of trouble came when Charles, having noticed the Johnsons, leaned over to one of his associates and whispered something that elicited a burst of laughter. The associate, a portly man with a red face, glanced at the Johnsons and shook his head, his expression a mix of amusement and disdain. Charles, emboldened by the reaction, raised his voice. "Can you believe it? They let anyone in here these days," he said loudly, his eyes fixed on the Johnsons. "What's next? Street vendors?" The comment hung in the air, an uncomfortable silence following in its wake. Robert's face flushed with anger and embarrassment, but he kept his composure, focusing on his family. Angela's grip on his hand tightened, and Lisa looked down, her joy momentarily dimmed. A waiter, sensing the tension, approached Charles's table with a practiced smile. "Is everything to your satisfaction, Mr. Worthington?" he asked, his voice courteous and professional. Charles smirked. "It could be better," he replied, casting another glance at the Johnsons. "Perhaps a change in clientele would improve the atmosphere." The waiter's smile faltered for a brief moment, a flicker of disapproval crossing his features. He recovered quickly, bowing slightly. "I'll see to it that your evening is enjoyable, sir," he said before walking away. Charles turned back to his associates, continuing his conversation as if nothing had happened. The Johnsons, meanwhile, tried to enjoy their meal, but the incident had cast a shadow over their evening. Robert felt a surge of protectiveness for his family, vowing silently to ensure they had a good time, despite the blatant disrespect. As the night wore on, the Johnsons' spirits gradually lifted. They focused on each other, sharing stories and laughter, determined not to let Charles's cruelty ruin their special night. The waiter, attentive and kind, made sure they were well taken care of, his discreet gestures of support a balm to their wounded pride. When the time came for dessert, the Johnsons were once again engrossed in their celebration. Lisa's face lit up as a decadent chocolate cake was placed before her, a small candle flickering on top. The waitstaff gathered around, singing a cheerful rendition of Happy Birthday that brought a smile to everyone's face, even eliciting polite applause from nearby tables. Charles, however, was not pleased. He watched the scene with a sneer, his irritation growing. He signaled for the waiter, who approached promptly. "Yes, Mr. Worthington?" the waiter inquired, his tone still professional. "I didn't come here for a sideshow," Charles snapped. "Tell them to keep it down." The waiter hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "I'll see what I can do, sir," he replied, before walking over to the Johnsons' table. As he approached, the waiter felt a pang of sympathy for the family. He leaned in, speaking softly to Robert. "I'm terribly sorry, but we've had a request to keep the noise level down," he said, his eyes conveying his regret. Robert nodded, understanding. "Of course," he said, his voice calm. "We'll keep it low-key." The waiter nodded appreciatively and returned to Charles's table. "Thank you, sir," he said quietly. Charles leaned back, satisfied. "About time," he muttered. As the waiter turned to leave, he discreetly slipped a small, folded note onto Charles's table, ensuring it went unnoticed by the others. Charles, oblivious, continued his conversation, the note lying unopened beside his wine glass. The Johnsons, meanwhile, finished their dessert in relative peace, their spirits dampened but not broken. They knew they didn't belong in this world of wealth and privilege, but they also knew that their love and unity were worth far more than any amount of money. As they prepared to leave, the waiter approached one last time, his demeanor warm and respectful. "I hope you had a pleasant evening," he said, bowing slightly. Robert smiled, his gratitude evident. "Thank you for everything," he replied. "You made it special for us." The waiter nodded, his expression one of genuine kindness. "It was my pleasure," he said. "Have a wonderful night." The Johnsons left the restaurant, their heads held high despite the evening's challenges. They had faced humiliation, but they had also experienced the strength of their bond and the kindness of a stranger. Back at Charles's table, the night was winding down. His associates were preparing to leave, their laughter and banter gradually fading. Charles, feeling a bit tipsy from the wine, finally noticed the folded note. He picked it up, curiosity piqued, and unfolded it. The note, written in elegant script, read, "True wealth is measured by the kindness one shows to others, not by the money in their pockets." Charles stared at the note, his smug smile fading. For a moment he felt a pang of something, regret perhaps, or shame. But it was fleeting, quickly replaced by his usual arrogance. He crumpled the note and tossed it aside, dismissing it as the ramblings of a nobody. As he left the restaurant, Charles's mind was already on his next business deal, the incident with the Johnsons forgotten. But for the Johnsons, the night had been a poignant reminder of the power of love and the dignity that comes from within. And for the waiter, it had been an opportunity to remind a wealthy man of a simple truth, that true worth is found not in one's bank account, but in one's actions and the way they treat others. The following day dawned bright and clear, but the previous night's events still lingered in the minds of the Johnsons. As they gathered for breakfast, the air was filled with a mixture of reflection and resolve. "That man was awful," Lisa said, her voice tinged with lingering anger. "How can people be so cruel?" Robert nodded, his expression somber. "Some people just don't know any better, but we won't let him ruin our happiness." Angela smiled gently at her daughter. "Exactly. We have so much to be thankful for. And last night we celebrated you, Lisa. That's what matters." Lisa smiled, feeling a renewed sense of pride and determination. Her parents' strength and positivity always managed to lift her spirits. Meanwhile, across town, Charles Worthington's day had started much the same as any other. He had meetings lined up, business deals to finalize, and the usual demands of maintaining his vast empire. Yet, as he sat at his opulent breakfast table, his thoughts kept drifting back to the note from the night before. "True wealth is measured by the kindness one shows to others, not by the money in their pockets." The words gnawed at him, a persistent reminder that perhaps there was more to life than the relentless pursuit of wealth and status. But Charles was not a man to dwell on such thoughts for long. He brushed it aside, focusing instead on his day's agenda. As the week went on, life continued in its usual rhythm for both families. The Johnsons, despite the incident, held their heads high and continued to prepare for Lisa's upcoming university life. They were determined to provide her with every opportunity, and their love and support only grew stronger. For Charles, however, things took an unexpected turn. One afternoon, as he was reviewing some documents in his office, a knock on the door interrupted his concentration. His assistant, a young man named David, entered hesitantly. "Mr. Worthington, there's someone here to see you," David said. Charles frowned. "I don't have any appointments right now. Who is it?" David looked uneasy. "It's the waiter from La Magnifique, sir. He says it's important." Charles's frown deepened. The waiter? What could he possibly want? Intrigued and slightly annoyed, he motioned for David to let him in. The waiter, whose name was Michael, entered the lavish office with a calm demeanor. He seemed out of place amidst the luxury, yet there was a quiet confidence about him. "Mr. Worthington," Michael began, his voice steady. "Thank you for seeing me." Charles nodded curtly. "What is it? I'm a busy man." Michael reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, worn envelope. "I came to give you this," he said, handing it to Charles. Charles took the envelope, eyeing it suspiciously. "What's this about?" "It's a letter from someone who wanted you to understand something important," Michael replied. "Please, read it when you have a moment." With that, Michael turned and left, leaving Charles alone with the mysterious letter. Curiosity piqued, Charles opened the envelope and unfolded the letter inside. The letter read, "Dear Mr. Worthington, I don't know if you remember me, but we met once, many years ago. You were a young man, full of ambition and drive, much like you are now. You helped me during a difficult time, showing kindness when I needed it most. That simple act of generosity changed my life. Last night, I saw you again, and it was clear that you have achieved great success. But I also saw a man who may have forgotten the true measure of wealth. I hope this letter serves as a reminder that the kindness you once showed me is what truly matters in this world. With gratitude, an old friend." Charles stared at the letter, the words resonating deeply within him. He tried to recall the incident mentioned but couldn't quite place it. Yet, the message was clear. The simple act of kindness he had once extended had left a lasting impact on someone's life. As the realization sank in, Charles felt a shift within himself. Perhaps it was time to reassess his priorities, to remember that wealth wasn't just about money, but about the positive impact one could have on others. In the days that followed, Charles began to make small changes. He started by treating his employees with more respect and appreciation. He reached out to charitable organizations, looking for ways to give back to the community, and, most importantly, he made an effort to remember the value of kindness in his everyday interactions. One evening, as he sat reflecting on these changes, he thought of the Johnson family. He decided to invite them to another dinner, this time as his guests, hoping to make amends for his behavior. The Johnsons were surprised, but accepted the invitation. The dinner was a stark contrast to their previous encounter. Charles was gracious and kind, making a genuine effort to connect with them. The evening ended on a positive note, with the Johnsons feeling truly respected and appreciated. For Charles, this was just the beginning. The note and letter had opened his eyes to a new way of living, one that valued kindness and humanity above all else. And in this transformation, he found a sense of fulfillment that no amount of money could ever buy. Charles Worthington's transformation was the talk of the town. Those who knew him well were astonished by the change in his demeanor and priorities. He had become a man who valued kindness and generosity, and his newfound humility was evident in every aspect of his life. One sunny afternoon, as Charles walked through the bustling streets of downtown, he noticed a familiar face among the crowd. It was Michael, the waiter who had delivered the letter that sparked his change. Charles approached him with a warm smile. "Michael, it's good to see you," Charles said, extending his hand. Michael shook his hand, smiling in return. "Mr. Worthington, it's nice to see you too. How have you been?" Charles chuckled. "Better, thanks to you. That letter you brought me ... it changed my life. I owe you a great deal." Michael's eyes softened. "I'm glad it made a difference. But you did the hard work of changing. I'm just happy to have played a small part." As they chatted, Michael revealed that he was studying business management at a local college, hoping to one day open his own restaurant. Charles, inspired by Michael's ambition and perseverance, saw an opportunity to give back. "Michael, how would you feel about having a mentor?" Charles asked. "I could help you navigate the business world, share some of my experiences, and maybe even invest in your future restaurant." Michael's eyes widened with surprise and gratitude. "That would be incredible, Mr. Worthington. I don't know what to say." "Say yes," Charles replied with a grin. "Let's make this happen." With Charles's guidance and support, Michael's dream began to take shape. Over the next few months, they worked together, planning and preparing for the launch of Michael's restaurant. Charles's vast network of contacts and resources proved invaluable, and he took great joy in seeing Michael's vision come to life. Meanwhile, the Johnson family was thriving. Lisa had started her university classes and was excelling in her studies. Robert and Angela, proud of their daughter's accomplishments, continued to support her in every way they could. One evening, as the Johnsons were enjoying a quiet dinner at home, they received a surprising phone call. It was Charles, inviting them to the grand opening of Michael's new restaurant. They gladly accepted, eager to see the fruits of the collaboration that had stemmed from such an unexpected encounter. The night of the opening was a resounding success. The restaurant, aptly named New Beginnings, was a beautiful blend of elegance and warmth, reflecting Michael's personality and vision. The Johnsons arrived, greeted warmly by Charles and Michael, and were treated to an unforgettable dining experience. As the evening progressed, Charles took a moment to address the guests. He spoke about the importance of kindness, generosity, and the power of believing in others. He shared the story of how a simple note had changed his perspective and led to a series of events that brought them all together. The Johnsons listened, their hearts swelling with pride and gratitude. They had seen firsthand the impact of kindness and were touched by the way their own journey had intertwined with Charles's and Michael's. After the speech, Charles approached the Johnsons, a sincere expression on his face. "I want to thank you for being a part of this journey," he said. "Your strength and dignity have been an inspiration to me." Robert shook his hand firmly. "And thank you, Mr. Worthington, for showing us that people can change. You've made a real difference." Angela and Lisa nodded in agreement, their smiles reflecting the warmth of the moment. As the night drew to a close, the guests departed with full hearts and a renewed sense of community. The grand opening of New Beginnings was more than just the launch of a restaurant. It was a celebration of transformation, resilience, and the lasting impact of kindness. For Charles, Michael, and the Johnsons, this new chapter marked the beginning of a journey filled with hope, support, and the promise of brighter days ahead. Months passed, and New Beginnings quickly became a beloved establishment in the community. Michael's restaurant not only offered exceptional food, but also fostered a welcoming environment where people from all walks of life felt at home. Charles, who had invested not just his money but his heart into the project, watched with pride as the restaurant thrived. One evening, as the dinner rush was winding down, Michael noticed a young woman sitting alone at a corner table, her eyes red from crying. He approached her with a gentle smile. "Hi, I'm Michael, the owner. Is everything okay?" he asked, his voice filled with genuine concern. The woman looked up, wiping her eyes. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cause a scene. It's just been a rough day." Michael pulled up a chair and sat across from her. "Why don't you tell me about it? Sometimes talking helps." The woman hesitated but then began to share her story. Her name was Emily, and she had just lost her job. She was struggling to make ends meet and was feeling utterly defeated. Michael listened intently, offering words of comfort and understanding. "I'm really sorry to hear that, Emily. I know things seem tough right now, but I believe in the power of new beginnings. In fact, that's what this place is all about." Emily managed a small smile. "Thank you. I appreciate your kindness." Michael's eyes lit up with an idea. "You know, we're actually looking for some help here at the restaurant. How would you feel about working with us? It might not solve everything, but it could be a start." Emily's eyes widened in surprise and hope. "Really? That would be amazing. I can't thank you enough." "Consider it done," Michael said with a warm smile. "We'll get you started tomorrow." As Emily left the restaurant that night, she felt a renewed sense of hope. Michael's offer was more than just a job. It was a lifeline. The next day, Emily began her new job at New Beginnings. She quickly became a valued member of the team, her hard work and positive attitude earning her the respect and friendship of her colleagues. For Emily, the restaurant wasn't just a place of employment. It was a place where she felt supported and valued. Meanwhile, Charles continued his efforts to spread kindness in other areas of his life. He organized charity events, donated to local causes, and mentored young entrepreneurs, sharing his knowledge and experience to help them succeed. One afternoon, Charles received an invitation to speak at a local school. The principal had heard about his transformation and thought his story would inspire the students. Charles accepted, eager to share his journey and the lessons he had learned. Standing in front of a room full of eager young faces, Charles felt a sense of purpose he had never experienced before. He spoke about the importance of kindness, resilience, and believing in oneself. He told them about the Johnson family, Michael, and the note that had changed his life. As he finished his speech, the room erupted in applause. Charles looked out at the students, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. He realized that this was his new path, spreading kindness and helping others find their own new beginnings. After the event, a young boy approached Charles. "Mr. Worthington, your story really inspired me. I want to help people too." Charles smiled, placing a hand on the boy's shoulder. "You can and you will. Remember, true wealth is measured by the kindness you show to others." The boy nodded, his eyes shining with determination. Charles felt a surge of pride, knowing that he had planted a seed of kindness in the next generation. As the months turned into years, New Beginnings continued to flourish, becoming a symbol of hope and transformation in the community. Michael's success inspired others to pursue their dreams, and Emily's story of resilience encouraged many who faced their own struggles. For Charles, the journey had come full circle. He had discovered that the true measure of wealth was not in the money he accumulated, but in the lives he touched and the kindness he spread. And as he looked around at the thriving community, he knew that this was his legacy, a legacy of new beginnings and endless possibilities. Years passed, and the legacy of kindness that began with Charles Worthington had woven itself into the fabric of the community. New Beginnings was not just a restaurant. It had become a beacon of hope and transformation, a place where stories of resilience and success were born and shared. One crisp autumn evening, a special event was held at New Beginnings. The restaurant was filled with familiar faces, patrons who had become friends, employees who had become family, and community members who had been touched by the ripple effects of kindness. The air was thick with anticipation as everyone gathered to celebrate the milestones they had achieved together. Michael, now a confident and respected entrepreneur, stood at the front of the room, a microphone in hand. He looked out at the crowd, his heart swelling with gratitude and pride. "Thank you all for being here tonight," he began, his voice steady and warm. "When we started New Beginnings, we wanted to create more than just a restaurant. We wanted to build a community, a place where everyone felt welcome and valued. And looking around this room, I see that we have done just that." The crowd erupted in applause, the sound echoing off the walls and filling the room with energy. "Tonight, we have a special guest with us," Michael continued. "The man who believed in me and helped make all of this possible, Mr. Charles Worthington." Charles stepped forward, his once stern and businesslike demeanor replaced by a warmth that reflected the changes he had undergone. The crowd's applause grew louder, a testament to the respect and admiration he had earned. "Thank you, Michael," Charles said, taking the microphone. "And thank you to everyone here. This journey has taught me more than I could have ever imagined. It's taught me that true wealth is found in the connections we make, the lives we touch, and the kindness we show." He paused, looking out at the sea of faces. "Each one of you has played a part in this story. You've shown me that a single act of kindness can create ripples that spread far and wide, and for that, I am eternally grateful." As the applause filled the room once more, Charles stepped down, joining the crowd. The evening continued with heartfelt speeches, shared stories, and moments of reflection on how far they had all come. Among the attendees was Lisa Johnson, now a successful lawyer and advocate for social justice. She approached Charles with a bright smile. "Mr. Worthington, I just wanted to thank you," Lisa said. Your transformation and support have inspired me in my own work. You've shown me that change is possible, and that we all have the power to make a difference." Charles felt a lump in his throat as he shook her hand. "Thank you, Lisa. Seeing your success is the greatest reward I could ask for." As the night wore on, the celebration spilled out onto the street, laughter and music filling the air. The community had come together in a way that felt almost magical, each person contributing to the vibrant tapestry of kindness and resilience. The following day, as the sun rose over the town, Charles took a walk through the neighborhood. He passed by the now iconic New Beginnings, its doors open wide, welcoming the day's patrons. He smiled, knowing that this place would continue to be a sanctuary for all who needed it. He continued his walk, reflecting on the journey that had brought him here. From a man who once measured his worth by his bank account to someone who now valued the richness of human connection, Charles had found his true purpose. The letter that Michael had brought him all those years ago had set off a chain of events that changed not just his life, but the lives of countless others. As he turned a corner, he saw a young boy helping an elderly woman with her groceries. The simple act of kindness brought a tear to his eye. It was a reminder that the legacy he had helped build was alive and thriving, carried forward by the next generation. And so, the story of New Beginnings continued, each chapter more beautiful than the last. The community had learned that true wealth was not in material possessions, but in the love, support, and kindness they shared. Charles knew that his journey was far from over, but he was ready to face whatever came next with an open heart and a spirit full of hope. Charles Worthington's legacy had become a cornerstone of the community, and the ripple effect of his transformation continued to inspire and uplift those around him. One spring morning, as the town awoke to the sound of birdsong and the scent of blooming flowers, another story of kindness was about to unfold. At the edge of town, a young woman named Maria was setting up a small flower stand. She had recently moved to the area, hoping to start fresh after a difficult period in her life. Her dream was simple, to bring a little beauty and joy to the community through her flowers. Maria's stand quickly caught the attention of passers-by. Her vibrant flowers, coupled with her warm smile, drew people in. One of her first customers was none other than Charles Worthington. He had heard about the new flower stand and was curious to meet the woman behind it. "Good morning," Charles greeted Maria with a smile. "Your flowers are beautiful. How long have you been doing this?" Maria blushed slightly. "Thank you. I've just started. I moved here recently and thought this would be a good way to connect with the community." Charles nodded, appreciating her initiative. "It's wonderful to see new ventures in our town. Welcome, Mariah. If there's anything you need, don't hesitate to ask." Maria's eyes lit up with gratitude. "Thank you, Mr. Worthington. That means a lot." As the days turned into weeks, Maria's flower stand flourished. The community embraced her, and she quickly became a beloved fixture in the town. One afternoon, while arranging a bouquet, Maria noticed a young boy watching her intently. His clothes were worn, and he had a look of longing in his eyes. "Hi there," Maria said softly. "Do you like flowers?" The boy nodded shyly. "They're pretty. My mom loves flowers, but we can't afford them." Maria's heart ached at his words. She glanced at the array of flowers before her and made a decision. "You know what? Why don't you pick out a bouquet for your mom? It's on me." The boy's eyes widened with disbelief. "Really? Thank you." As he carefully selected flowers, Maria felt a sense of fulfillment. This small act of kindness reminded her of why she had started the flower stand in the first place. Later that evening, as Maria was closing up, Charles walked by and stopped to chat. "How's business, Maria?" he asked. "It's going well," Maria replied with a smile. "I had a little boy come by today. He wanted to get flowers for his mom, but couldn't afford them. I gave him a bouquet for free. The look on his face was priceless." Charles's heart warmed at her story. "That's wonderful, Maria. It's moments like these that truly matter." Inspired by Maria's generosity, Charles decided to organize a community event at New Beginnings. He reached out to Michael, who was eager to help. Together, they planned a charity auction, the proceeds of which would go to supporting local families in need. The event was a resounding success. The restaurant was filled with laughter, music, and a sense of unity. Items donated by local businesses and individuals were auctioned off, with everyone eager to contribute to the cause. Maria donated several exquisite floral arrangements which fetched high bids. During the event, Charles took a moment to address the attendees. "Thank you all for coming tonight. Your generosity is a testament to the strength of our community. It's a reminder that when we come together, we can make a real difference in each other's lives." The applause that followed was thunderous. As the evening came to a close, Charles approached Maria. "Your flowers were a hit tonight. Thank you for being a part of this." Maria beamed. "Thank you for organizing this, Mr. Worthington. It's amazing to see what we can achieve together." As Charles walked home that night, he felt a deep sense of contentment. The town had come a long way, and he was proud to be a part of its journey. He knew that the seeds of kindness he had planted would continue to grow, nurtured by the love and compassion of people like Maria. The following morning, as the sun rose over the town, Maria opened her flower stand with renewed energy. The young boy from the previous day returned, this time with his mother. They thanked Maria profusely, and the boy handed her a small, hand-drawn picture of a flower. "This is for you," he said shyly. "Thank you for the flowers." Maria's eyes filled with tears as she accepted the drawing. "Thank you, it's beautiful." As she pinned the drawing to her stand, Maria realized that this was just the beginning. The kindness she had received and given would continue to blossom, creating a legacy of light that would illuminate the town for generations to come. As the seasons changed and the town thrived, the spirit of kindness continued to weave its magic. The sense of community was stronger than ever, and everyone felt a deep connection to one another. Charles Worthington's transformation had sparked a chain reaction, and now countless lives were being touched by simple acts of generosity. One crisp winter morning, the town faced an unexpected challenge. A severe snowstorm had hit, leaving many roads impassable and cutting off essential services. The townspeople found themselves in need of support and solidarity more than ever. At New Beginnings, Michael and his staff quickly turned the restaurant into a temporary shelter. The large dining area, usually filled with laughter and chatter, now became a haven for those seeking warmth and comfort. The restaurant's kitchen worked tirelessly, providing hot meals and drinks to everyone who came through the doors. Charles, seeing the dire situation, mobilized his resources. He coordinated with local businesses, arranging for blankets, clothing, and medical supplies to be delivered to the restaurant. Maria, ever the beacon of hope, brought in flowers to brighten the makeshift shelter, reminding everyone of the beauty that still existed despite the harsh conditions outside. As the snowstorm raged on, the community came together in ways that were both heartwarming and inspiring. Neighbors checked on each other, ensuring that everyone had what they needed to stay safe and warm. The Johnson family opened their home to those who couldn't make it to the restaurant, their living room filled with people sharing stories and finding solace in each other's company. One evening, as the storm began to subside, a town meeting was held at New Beginnings. The room was packed, filled with people who had come to rely on one another for support. Charles stood at the front, his presence commanding yet compassionate. "Thank you all for coming," he began, his voice carrying a warmth that resonated with everyone. "These past few days have been challenging, but they have also shown us the strength of our community. We've come together, supported each other, and demonstrated the true power of kindness and solidarity." The crowd erupted in applause, the sound echoing off the walls and filling the room with a sense of unity. Michael stepped forward, a smile on his face. "We've faced this storm together, and we've come out stronger. New Beginnings will always be a place where everyone is welcome, no matter the circumstances." Maria, standing beside him, added, "And let's not forget the small acts of kindness that have made a big difference. Every gesture, every smile, and every helping hand have brought us closer together." As the meeting continued, plans were made to help those still struggling in the aftermath of the storm. Charles announced that he would be funding a community relief fund, ensuring that everyone had the resources they needed to rebuild and recover. The town's sense of gratitude was palpable, and the energy in the room was electric. In the days that followed, the town slowly returned to normal. The streets were cleared, services were restored, and life began to pick up its usual rhythm. Yet the bonds forged during the storm remained strong, a testament to the resilience and compassion of the community. For Charles, the experience had been a profound reminder of the impact one could have when driven by kindness and a genuine desire to help others. His journey from a wealthy businessman to a beloved community leader was a source of inspiration for many, and he knew that his work was far from over. One sunny afternoon, as Charles walked through the town, he encountered the young boy who had given Maria the drawing. The boy, now a little older, was playing with his friends, their laughter filling the air. "Mr. Worthington," the boy called out, running up to him, "thank you for everything you've done for us." Charles smiled, crouching down to the boy's level. "Thank you for being a part of this wonderful community. It's people like you who make it so special." The boy beamed, his eyes shining with admiration. "One day, I want to help people just like you do." Charles felt a surge of pride and hope. "You already are by being kind and caring. Keep it up, and you'll do amazing things." As the boy ran back to his friends, Charles continued his walk, his heart full of gratitude. The power of community, he realized, lay in the connections they built and the kindness they shared. And in this town, those values had created a legacy that would endure for generations. Spring arrived with a burst of color, the town coming alive with new growth and renewed energy. The community, strengthened by the winter storm and the bonds formed during those challenging days, looked forward to a season of celebration and progress. One of the most anticipated events was the town's annual festival, a time for everyone to come together, share their talents, and enjoy the fruits of their collective efforts. This year's festival was set to be particularly special, as it would mark the official opening of the community garden, a project that had been months in the making. The idea for the garden had been inspired by Maria's flower stand and her belief in the power of nature to heal and bring people together. With the support of Charles, Michael, and countless volunteers, a plot of land near the center of town had been transformed into a vibrant garden, filled with flowers, vegetables, and herbs. As the festival day approached, excitement buzzed through the town. Stalls were set up, decorations hung, and the air was filled with the scent of blooming flowers and freshly baked goods. The garden, now in full bloom, stood as a testament to what the community could achieve when working together. On the morning of the festival, Maria arrived early to put the finishing touches on the garden. She carefully arranged bouquets of flowers, ensuring that every corner of the garden was inviting and beautiful. As she worked, she thought about how far she had come since opening her flower stand and how the town had embraced her with open arms. Charles and Michael arrived shortly after, both eager to see the culmination of their hard work. Michael, always the optimist, was beaming with pride. "Maria, this is incredible! You've outdone yourself." Maria smiled, her heart full. "I couldn't have done it without all of you. This garden belongs to everyone." As the festival began, people streamed into the garden, marveling at the vibrant displays and enjoying the sense of peace the space offered. Children ran between the rows of flowers, their laughter mingling with the music that played softly in the background. Families gathered to admire the vegetable patches, discussing plans to start their own gardens at home. Charles took a moment to address the crowd, his voice carrying a deep sense of pride and joy. "This garden is a symbol of what we can achieve when we come together. It's a place for growth, not just of plants, but of our community. Thank you all for making this possible." The applause that followed was heartfelt and enthusiastic. The festival continued with various activities, workshops on gardening, cooking demonstrations using fresh produce from the garden, and performances by local musicians and dancers. It was a day filled with joy, learning, and connection. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the garden, Charles found himself reflecting on the journey that had brought them here. From the moment he received that note in the restaurant to this day of celebration, his life had been transformed in ways he could never have imagined. He watched as Maria guided a group of children through the garden, teaching them about the different plants and their uses. Her passion and dedication were evident in every word, and the children listened with rapt attention. It was clear that the seeds of kindness and community were being planted in the next generation. Michael, ever the gracious host, moved through the crowd, ensuring everyone felt welcome and included. His restaurant had become a cornerstone of the community, a place where people gathered not just to eat, but to connect and support one another. As the festival drew to a close, the town gathered for one final event, a tree planting ceremony. The tree, a sturdy oak, was to be a lasting symbol of the community's strength and unity. Charles, Maria, and Michael each took turns placing soil around the tree's roots, joined by the children who would one day inherit this legacy. With the tree firmly planted, Charles spoke one last time. "This tree represents our commitment to each other and to future generations. May it grow strong and remind us of the power of kindness and community." The crowd cheered, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of lanterns. As they dispersed, there was a sense of fulfillment and hope that lingered in the air. The garden, the festival, and the tree were all symbols of a community that had learned to value what truly mattered. And so, as the town settled into the quiet of the night, the seeds of the future were firmly planted, ready to grow and flourish in the years to come. Charles, Maria, Michael, and the entire community looked forward to the next chapter of their journey, knowing that together they could face anything and continue to create a legacy of light and kindness. The warmth of summer brought a sense of renewal to the town. The community garden, now a thriving oasis of green and color, was a daily reminder of what could be achieved through unity and compassion. The town had become a model of resilience and cooperation, and its spirit of kindness continued to inspire all who visited. One early morning, as the first rays of sunlight filtered through the leaves, Maria was tending to the garden. She loved these quiet moments, when the world was just waking up and the air was filled with the promise of a new day. She was joined by Lisa Johnson, who had returned from university for the summer break. Lisa had become a passionate advocate for social justice, inspired by the community's journey and her own experiences. "Morning, Maria," Lisa greeted, kneeling beside her to help with the weeding. "The garden looks amazing. You've really created something special here." Maria smiled, her hands busy in the soil. "Thank you, Lisa. It's all thanks to everyone's hard work and support. I'm so glad you're here to help." As they worked, they talked about their dreams and plans for the future. Lisa shared her vision of starting a community outreach program, providing resources and support to those in need. Maria listened with admiration, offering her encouragement and promising to help in any way she could. Meanwhile, Charles Worthington was meeting with the town council to discuss new initiatives for the community. His leadership had been instrumental in driving positive change, and he was eager to explore new ways to build on their successes. One of the ideas on the table was a scholarship fund for local students, ensuring that everyone had the opportunity to pursue their education and dreams. "We've come a long way," Charles said, addressing the council, "but there's always more we can do. Investing in our young people is investing in our future. Let's give them the support they need to succeed." The council members nodded in agreement, their faces reflecting the same determination and hope that had guided their efforts thus far. The scholarship fund was approved unanimously, and plans were set in motion to launch it by the end of the summer. That afternoon, Charles visited New Beginnings, where Michael was hosting a community lunch. The restaurant was bustling with activity, filled with laughter and conversation. It had become a true hub of the town, a place where everyone felt welcome and valued. "Charles, great to see you," Michael called out, waving him over to a table. "Join us for lunch?" Charles accepted the invitation, sitting down with a group of locals. As they ate, they discussed the latest developments in the town, sharing ideas and stories. The sense of camaraderie was palpable, and Charles felt a deep sense of pride in what they had achieved together. After lunch, Charles and Michael took a walk through the town, reflecting on the journey they had shared. "It's incredible how much has changed," Michael said, "and to think it all started with a simple act of kindness." Charles nodded. "It's a reminder that we all have the power to make a difference, no matter how small our actions might seem." As they passed by the community garden, they saw Maria and Lisa working with a group of children, teaching them about gardening and the importance of taking care of the environment. The scene filled Charles with a sense of fulfillment. The seeds they had planted, both literal and figurative, were growing into something beautiful and lasting. That evening, the town gathered for a celebration at the garden. Lanterns were strung up, casting a warm glow over the space. There was music, dancing, and a shared meal prepared by the community. It was a night of joy and gratitude, a testament to their collective strength and spirit. Maria, Lisa, Michael, and Charles stood together, looking out at the crowd. "This is what it's all about," Maria said softly. "Coming together, supporting each other, and building a future we can all be proud of." Charles smiled, feeling a deep sense of peace. "We've created something special here, and it's just the beginning." As the evening drew to a close, the townspeople gathered around the tree they had planted during the festival. They shared their hopes and dreams, each one adding a new layer to the legacy of kindness and community. And so, under the stars, the town embraced a new dawn. They were united by a common purpose, ready to face whatever the future held with open hearts and unwavering resolve. The seeds of kindness had taken root, and they knew that together they could continue to grow and thrive, creating a better world for generations to come. Years passed, and the town flourished in ways that no one could have imagined. The seeds of kindness and community that had been planted continued to grow, transforming the town into a beacon of hope and inspiration. The impact of these efforts extended far beyond its borders, drawing visitors and new residents who were eager to be part of this thriving, compassionate community. One sunny afternoon, a grand celebration was held at the community garden to commemorate a decade of growth and transformation. The garden, now a lush and vibrant space, had expanded to include a greenhouse, a playground, and an educational center where workshops and classes were held regularly. It was a living testament to what could be achieved when people came together with a shared vision. The celebration was a joyous occasion, filled with music, laughter, and heartfelt speeches. Charles Worthington, now a beloved elder of the community, stood before the crowd, reflecting on the journey that had brought them here. 10 years ago, we began a journey that changed our lives, he began, his voice strong despite his years. We learned that true wealth isn't measured by material possessions, but by the kindness we show and the connections we build. Today, we celebrate not just our achievements, but the spirit of community that has made it all possible. The crowd erupted in applause, their faces beaming with pride and gratitude. Among them were Maria, now the director of the community garden, Michael, whose restaurant New Beginnings had become a chain of community-centered eateries, and Lisa, who had established a successful outreach program that helped countless families. As the festivities continued, Charles wandered through the garden, greeting old friends and making new ones. He paused by the oak tree they had planted years ago, its branches now reaching high into the sky. Underneath it, a plaque read, "In honor of those who believe in the power of kindness and community." Maria joined him, her face glowing with happiness. "This tree has grown so much, just like our town." Charles nodded, his eyes misty with emotion. "It's a symbol of everything we've accomplished, and it will continue to grow long after we're gone." As evening fell, the garden was illuminated by the soft glow of lanterns. The townspeople gathered for a final event, the unveiling of a mural that depicted their journey. Painted on the wall of the educational center, it showed scenes of their shared history. Charles receiving the note, the community garden in bloom, the winter storm, and the many acts of kindness that had defined their story. Lisa, who had spearheaded the mural project, stepped forward to say a few words. "This mural is a tribute to each and every one of you. It's a reminder that our actions, no matter how small, can create ripples that touch countless lives. Let's continue to build on this legacy and inspire others to do the same." The crowd cheered, their spirits lifted by the beauty and meaning of the mural. As they mingled and shared their hopes for the future, there was a palpable sense of unity and purpose. Charles, sitting on a bench under the oak tree, watched the scene with a heart full of gratitude. He had started this journey with a single act of kindness, and it had blossomed into something far greater than he could have ever imagined. The town, once divided by differences, was now united by a common goal: to create a better, kinder world. As the night wore on, Charles felt a tap on his shoulder. It was the young boy who had once given Maria a drawing of a flower. Now a teenager, he had grown into a confident and compassionate young man. "Mr. Worthington," he said, handing Charles a new drawing, "I made this for you." Charles unfolded the paper to reveal a beautiful depiction of the oak tree, its branches reaching out to embrace the community. At the base of the tree were the words, "Thank you for planting the seeds of our future." Tears welled up in Charles's eyes as he hugged the boy. "Thank you. This means more to me than you know." As the celebration drew to a close, the townspeople lit candles, each flame representing a commitment to continue the legacy of kindness and community. They placed the candles around the oak tree, their light casting a warm glow that symbolized hope and unity. Standing together under the stars, they knew that their journey was far from over. The seeds of kindness would continue to grow, nurtured by their collective efforts and the unwavering belief in the power of community. And as they faced the future together, they carried with them the knowledge that true wealth was found not in what they had, but in what they gave. And so, the story of new beginnings continued, a testament to the enduring power of love, kindness, and the strength of a united community. The legacy that Charles Worthington and his friends had built would live on, inspiring generations to come and proving that even the smallest acts of kindness could change the world.